So today we will be importing assets. So today's skills matrix alignment is art, assets, the design and creation of static meshes for use as world environments or items, props, wearables, characters, all of that fun stuff, all of the magic. Alrighty, so there is some important info. Hold on, I need to move this bar. So this session is in fact recorded. So keep muted unless you're asking a question. Raise your hand, use the Zoom raise hand function to ask the question. Keep questions concise. That's new. Limited 2 to 3 minutes so everyone gets a chance. Share context beforehand. Post your question with details in the channel prior if possible. Be active in the chat. Yeah, definitely. Let's have a party today. I'm ready to party. Share relevant insights and help answer others' questions when possible. And please, as always, please, oh, please fill out that survey. It really helps us determine what we teach. It's really important. So definitely, yeah, do the thing and tag me in the appropriate channels or forums. So we have the forums now, and it's new, but it's popping. And also try not to DM me. I do get lots, and it gets overwhelming. So, alrighty. So I just wanted to briefly go over the levelers of success. First, we have really good documentation, and they're getting better. So definitely, if you need advice on which documentation to go, definitely ask a friend. Go to a forum, ask there, and there will be lots of people there to help guide you to the right direction. Practice. So what you see here, definitely practice, do it over again, do it 5 times, because you're building that muscle memory, and it will just kind of like streamline instead of like you having to poke around for like too long. It's happened to me. I promise you, I'm speaking from experience. And of course, don't be afraid to ask for help. Our forum is the perfect place. So definitely, we're all there. You have your peers, you have all the mentors there ready to rock and roll with you in that space. All right. So today we are going to import this battle axe. I'm not sure how many of us has seen the weekly challenge in the forum. Give me an emoji in the chat, please. And if not, I can send you a link to that forum. I'm going to go ahead and share this screen. Just a quick walkthrough in the forums. Here's the main screen for the MHCP forum. And if you scroll down to events and competitions, that's where you will get the weekly challenges there. And today we're going to go over for the new creators. So I'm going to go ahead and click on there. And if you want to follow along, I'm going to drop this link. Oh, you guys have already done it. All right, cool. Thank you. I appreciate the assistance. Okay, so now basically I give the challenge overview, all the steps you should take, but we're gonna go over it together. So I'm gonna just breeze through that. Another thing is the battle axe. I ended up having to do a link. There was something wrong with the attachment. So definitely click on the link to get that battle axe. And then the 2 texture types. And I'm going to go over why there are 2 very briefly. So, alrighty. So now that you have that downloaded, you should make a folder and put those items in there. And your folder should look a little something like this. So you will have the colors _BR and the colors _MEO. If anything, if you're following along, please give me an emoji, a thumbs up if you are following along. And if you have that downloaded, I will wait for you so we could get this going together. And then you can all post in the forum and earn your badges. It'll be fun stuff. Yes, these PNGs are actually quite useful. And I'll briefly go over why they're useful.
I hope you realize I use those in just about every single world I build now. That has become my go-to on those ones.
Cool. I might make a new one soon, so we'll see
I'll
how
stay
that.
tuned.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're very handy. I've seen people do really cool stuff with those types of like trim sheets and stuff. Okay, so now that you have, and let me just exit out of this. Okay, so now that you have your files, honestly, you could just bring this into Horizon and plop it in. I'm gonna do that first. And then afterwards, I'm going to bring it into Blender and dissect what I've done. So you can see how you can achieve making your own colors and I mean changing the colors and stuff like that. So first up is we need to open the desktop editor. So I'm gonna go here to my MetaQuest Link app. And then I'm going to go to library and I'm going to find my Meta Horizon desktop editor. Now I'm going to click on these three dots, start in desktop mode. And I'll most likely do this process again afterwards. So don't worry if you're not here yet. I'm going to just move this aside. And I have my desktop editor. We have a bunch of templates and, access to the forum. Of course, you guys have applied to the MHCP, stuff like that. Up on the top, upper right-hand side, we're going to go to New World. Alrighty, so here is the desktop editor. Just a quick overview on what that looks like. You have your main viewport, which is right here in the middle. You have your assets down at the bottom, console, and your performance. Then up on the top, you have your gizmos and shapes and all that. But today we are going to be focused on the assets portion of this. So now we're going to go to this drop down that says add new. I'm going to go ahead and click that. And then you get a bunch of cool stuff here. What we're going to do is 3D model. All right, very cool. So afterwards, we're going to, let's take a look at this screen. So it says when you import model and hierarchies are flattened and placed in a group. Yes. So basically, when you have multiple items, they're like automatically placed in a group. So when you bring it in, you end up having to kind of like unparent those objects. It could get tricky sometimes, but we don't need to worry about that right now. And you also have these offset pivots later on if you do end up doing any kind of scripting that has to do with hinges and, making things move. This is really important. But for today, we're going to turn this off because we don't need it. We're going to bring in a static item. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this option here, and I'm going to find that I have, hold on a second, because I have this thing that is in the way. Okay, perfect. Okie doke. So I'm going to go to my battle axe. And now, if I were to just drag and select all of these will all come in together. So you have your FBX, your BR, and your MEO. So the MEO gives us the extra materials like emissive, metalness, ambient occlusion. But we'll learn more about that later on. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on open. And then once we're done with that, we're going to press import. Alrighty. It's going to soon populate here. There it goes. It has a little time clock there. As you can see, I have a bunch of silly stuff going on here. all of my demos are in here. Okay, cool. We have success. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that item and drag it into the scene. And there you have it, your very own battle axe. Dun, 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 dun. And if you click on the battle axe and let's say you get all wonky and you're too far, you press F to zoom in. I'm pressing Alt left mouse button to orbit. And I can pan with the middle mouse button and zoom with the scroll wheel. And yeah. Has anybody imported this axe yet? No, it's okay. It's quiet now. It's too quiet. Okay, so basically for the challenge, okay. I thought you'd never axe. Okay, cool, cool. That's so funny. Okay, so so the challenge is what you're going to do is you're going to take a picture and say hello to my alt avatar. Take a picture next to the axe and place it into the forum. And that's how you earn your badge. All right, so let's take a look at how the axe is textured. So I'm gonna go ahead and press escape and I'm gonna open up Blender. Let's open up the Blender. I encourage you to make your own axe in there and show off your skills. Okay, so here I am in Blender. I have a fresh new scene. A lot of people have their preferences. They'll have the scene where it's saved with no camera, no default cube and light. I like to keep it vanilla because this is what everybody sees. So I'm going to press A for all to select everything, and I'm going to press X to delete all objects in my scene. I'm going to bring the axe into the scene. I'm going to do File, Import, FBX. And now I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. And the way I zoom in, let's say you're in Blender and you're all the way out here. If I were to press the period key on my number pad, I am on my PC, by the way. I zoom right into the object. And that's really handy when you really need to kind of like pinpoint where your object is. Okay, so let's take a look at the material. Okay, well, it looks like that. I know how to fix that. So what I'm going to do actually, guys, I'm going to open up the shader editor. Actually, let me do this easy because I'm ahead of myself. Okay, so if I go over to the shading tab, I can turn off that alpha. Basically, it's Blender detected that there is transparency on the texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that off just by simply, I believe, let me just turn this off. Let me see something. There we are. Now we can see what's going on. All right, cool. So let me go back to layout. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how this is textured in case you want to change the texturing. So if I go over to the UV editing tab, you can see all your items here. And you can see your battle axe on this side. Now let's say, for example, I'm going to turn on the viewport shading. Why does it look like that? So here is my battle axe. If I were to press A for all, I have all of my UVs here. Basically, the way I UV'd this item is I took panels, parts and pieces all together. And honestly, if you don't know how to UV unwrap or anything like that, if you want to have a better understanding of it, definitely watch that video in the experience creators so you could see how it's done. I definitely don't have enough time to do that right now. However, let's say I wanted to change the color that I already have here. So for example, I'm going to go over to this island here. And let's say I wanted to change this color. So I'm going to go ahead and press G. And now, as you can see, now I'm changing the color of my item, which I think I will use that color. Actually, if you zoom in, it will be a lot easier. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah, zooming in really shows you what you're doing. And, if you do something like this, it will definitely catch that black line. Alrighty, so let's say if I wanted to change the color of the emissive parts, for example, if I were to change this item, let's say I wanted the axe to be pink, super cutesy. There we are. And so basically, this side is emissive. So this side is super glowy. This side is basically like a very dull surface, rough. And then we have the shiny. The reason why you don't see it here is mainly because the transparency gives it the extra shine. Hold on a second. The transparency gives it the extra shine, and also with the metallic as well. So for example, if I were to select one of these guys, and unfortunately, I do have the rest of the texture in another file, but we're just going to eyeball it for here. So I'm going to go ahead and let's say, I don't know, I wanted this blade to be a purple, just kind of like, oops, sorry. I switched I switch I switch programs all the time, and they all require different movement keys, and it's driving me crazy. Anyways, alrighty. And now I'd like to change this color. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and press G. And let's say I wanted to be, there we are. I like it. One more thing, I wanted to change that little gem on the middle. I'm going to go ahead and press G. And I want the gem to be, why not yellow? And there we go. Now my battle axe is recolored. So yeah, I say give it a try, explore Blender, make mistakes, and because that's the best way to learn in this program, is just kind of like mess around, mess it up a little bit, dissect it. Okay, so let's bring this new battle axe into Horizon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File. Actually, before I do that, I do want to show you a little something. Let's say you encounter another asset from somewhere else. Definitely go over here. So here is basically the attributes editor. If you go on the bottom, you will find the material tab. This is really, really important. So in the material tab, you're basically telling Horizon, hey, I want this texture to be attached to my FBX. And so this is where you tell it to do so. And also another thing is later on when you get more used to the materials and stuff, the different types, here's where you tell Horizon, hey, underscore, I want to make this transparent, or underscore, I want to make this unlit or masked. So this is basically you telling Horizon what to do with the texture that you attach to this item. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to look over here. So for this example, I only put colors. And the reason for that is if I'm using a regular BR and an MEO, all I need to do is just have this name. Unless I have an unlit or a masked, and that's where things need to be named. But for this material type, which is the base, the default material type, this is just fine. Now let's say you don't have the color here and you need to attach it. So we're going to go down here to where it says base color, and we're going to try to find, not try, we're going to find that texture. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this yellow dot. I'm going to go to texture, image texture. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this folder icon. Afterwards, I'm going to find the folder with my materials. And of course, it is this colors_br, open, and it will be attached. Nothing happened there because I already had it attached and it's fine. So now let's say your texture is named, your asset is UV'd and textured and done. We're super happy with it. Now we're going to go to File, Export FBX. We're going to find the folder. So in this case, I'm just going to override the other battle axe. It's not a big deal. I sometimes like to limit to selected objects. That's just me. And it's usually because, nice, I can't wait to see your axe. So the reason why I like to limit to the selected objects is sometimes I like to assemble my scenes together in Blender. And there are times where I just want bits and pieces of that scene to be brought into Horizon. The thing is that if I don't select this, everything comes together and it's not that it's a mess. Sometimes it works, but sometimes, you know, it's too much and you have to import in pieces. And that's something I can definitely, that process I can definitely go over in the future. But for now, I'm going to just limit to selected objects. Just definitely, how do I word this? Get used to that, because sometimes you'll run into an issue and you're like, I don't know how to fix that, and then you'll realize, oh, let me just limit to, and that I promise you, you'll thank me later. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and export FBX. Alrighty. So for this texture itself, it's already set up for you. This one in particular, I've set it up so that if you wanted to just import it, you just can. You know, you don't need to resave the textures. But actually, that's a good point. Let's say you did receive a model that has the texture packed in with it. If you wanted to extract the texture from the model itself, you go to texture. Actually, no, you go to UV editing. Which asset? Uh, hold on. I'll go over that in the Q&A. Okay. So let's say you have the a model and no texture, but it shows up in Blender, right? And there are scenarios that happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the UV editing tab, and then I'll go to image, and then I can actually save out the image from here. So if I do save as, I'll have the texture image. And sometimes those assets will come with the JPEG or, you know, other file type. You can easily just change it by saving it out as such. So if you go to file format and tap down, you have all of these choices to choose. But for us, we need PNG. And then you do save as. It's super simple, super easy. And now I already exported this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and just minimize this. And let's go back to our desktop editor. Okie dokie. And now let's import that again next to the other friend here. Okay. So now I'm going to go to my assets tab on the bottom left. Click this drop down and go to 3D model. Now what I'll do is I will find my file, go to Battle Axe, and just drag all of this, open. And of course, I'm going to just turn off this offset pivot because we don't need it. And then click on import. And you're going to see it populate down here with the timer. And there you have it. We have success. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on this and drag it out. And let's see what it looks like. And look at that. She's cutesy. She's pretty. Hold on. And she's too far. So I'm going to press F. There we are. Oof. Very cute. So I definitely encourage you guys, if you haven't yet, definitely play around with that texture map and make this your own if you can. And yeah. Right? It's cute. Deadly and cute at the same time. All right, guys. So now I am going to open up the chat and yeah, let's talk about it. Do you have any? He's very demure, very mindful. Um, do you have any questions about the axe itself or anything in general? Let me know. You can use the chat or you can unmute yourself now. Let's party. Let's party, guys. Boss Leo, you had a question. The asset I download was so complex. Do you know which asset that was? Or was it this asset? Yes. So
Oh, can you hear me? Oh, sorry.
yes, it's okay.
This was from an external platform that I downloaded.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we can share screens on here or not, but with this particular asset, um, I don't even know how to even explain the issue I'm having. It did have the files that came with it
Mm-hmm.
as a starting point, and it had just a list of all materials. And so I literally just went into the model and I just changed the material to a base color to
Yeah.
see if I could import it into Horizon, but I got the issue with saying that it was missing underscore BR file, which was like 15s into it. So I'm kind of stuck with a model that I want to
Mm-hmm.
import because something is wrong with the texture and the image part of it. And
Okay.
there's no way for me to break it up to like try to import individual pieces.
So there are a few things to look out for, especially when you have items like that. For example, and I'm gonna just kind of like make up the scenario here. So let's say you have this item, but then you have other materials attached to it. You have to be mindful that those materials, number one, if they are attached to it, make sure that they come in with the model itself. So like when you're in the materials tab, take a look at this list because this list is very important. And if so, make sure those materials are named correctly. So for example, if you get anything from any external website or anything, they sometimes look like this. So let's pay attention to this side and I'm actually going to maximize it. Sometimes they'll look something like this. Color, X, 001 underscore mat. Now, if you see any material named this way, just know that Horizon's going to be like, what is this? What are you giving me? You know, you have to change it. You have to fix it. So you have to make sure that you only have one underscore, and it's one of the commands that Horizon is asking for, right? Another thing is, like I said, you have to make sure that all the materials for that item is present. And sometimes companies, what they'll do, or creators, what they'll do is they'll use one material for multiple items, all spread out throughout the creation itself. And sometimes that gets a little confusing if you have that missing. So that, trust me, that's an issue I come across with a lot of creators. They get really frustrated. They're like, I'm doing everything right. But that's one thing. Another thing is making sure that the names match. For example, I have this colors and I have this colors underscore BR. The thing is that if I had this capitalized and this not, it will not come in. So uh it it's just case sensitive. Like it just won't accept it if it's not done uh the right way, basically. Let's see.
I can delete the one that I have in my damn assets now again.
What's that? From what if you are, no, the entire scene does not need to be imported. I sometimes import scenes piece by piece. That's because sometimes the scene is just too big, or there are too many items, um, or just too many vertices. Like there is a limit. There's a limit to how much you do in one import. And sometimes you have to bring in pieces. I usually like to split things up in quadrants, you know, and then I usually like to use an origin block. Now I kind of have to change it up because we are the registration blocks. Okay. Yeah, the origin block. Let's see if I can emulate that really quick. So let's say, gonna just,
I have two questions when you're done with that.
okay, dope. So let's say you made a land. I'm gonna do Shift A, and I'm gonna make a plane. I'm gonna scale this up just a smidge. Right, I made a land, and on this land I have a few items. There is actually, that would be for the materials. I'll get that to you in a second. Actually, ADD tells me no. Hold on. Hold on 1 second, guys. Yes. I got you right now. Yes. Okay, here we go. Definitely bookmark this document, please, because this will be your guide to all of the cool materials that you can use for Horizon. Okay, so getting back to it, let's say I have my land, and let's say do Shift A, and I have a building here, and I'm being very loose with it, so please don't mind me. So I have my building here, and I don't know, I'm going to press 7 to go to my orthographic view, top down view. I'm going to do Shift D. Oh, okay. Yeah. and I can't see nothing, and I know why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my wireframe. All right, cool. So I have a few buildings here. Let's say I have an item here. I'm going to scale it, and I'm going to press tab. I don't know. I'm just being, like I said, super duper loose with this. Okay. So here's my entire world. It's a city. It's jam-packed of action and all kinds of missions to complete and blah blah blah. Okay, so let's say you try to import this whole thing, right? And Horizon gives you an error. It's too big, file's too big, too many objects. Things like that. It happens. One thing is I do like to group items in quadrants, like say, for example, let's say those items have the same textures. 9 times out of 10, I do like to group those textures so we could lower what's called the draw calls. Basically, so we don't have so many items loading at the same time. Like, I don't know if you've been to a world and then sometimes it just takes too long to load. Like everything's blank and then all of a sudden everything loads and stuff like that. You lower the load time if you group things together. Now, I don't recommend grouping everything together at all, because you're making the headsets render the entire world all at the same time. You don't want that. And that's why I usually group in quadrants, like, so let's say basically in sections, like this section will be, I don't know, the park scene and the skate park, and this would be the fire station, and this would be something else, or the parking garage, right? Anything that is in this quadrant that shares the same texture, group them. And you can have multiple groups in one. It's just so much easier. And now let's say I wanted to bring everything in, but I want to make sure that they stay in the right places. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create what is called an origin block. So I'm going to take this cube and I'm going to Shift D, and I'm going to bring this out to possibly right there. I also want to make sure that it is going to make a bounding box. It's going to make a bounding box that is going to help me snap into place. Now, this method is totally for headset. There's other ways to snap in place using locations in your desktop editor. But my favorite is absolutely going into VR and just snapping things into place and seeing how, like, I like to inspect my models in VR. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press GZ and I'm going to bring this down a bit. And the reason for that is you don't see it yet, but there's going to be a bounding box in Horizon. The bounding box is going to look something like, I wonder if I could do annotations on here. Oh my God, please. I think Zoom does that. That would be so cool. Okay, yes. I'm geeked. All right, so you're going to have a bounding box that looks like this. Oh my gosh, I feel so fancy right now using the Zoom tools, right? And so basically in the world, once you have one origin block here, once you have that origin block, you can basically bring in those items bit by bit. And let's say these are all split up, right? As long as you export from Horizon with a copy of that origin block, you can just snap them in place by using the snapping points, which is usually this corner here. It's really cool. To me, it's super fast and very efficient. And like, let's say I wanted to switch out like a section, like, oh, this section is not quite right. I can take that origin block that it's attached to take out that group and snap in the new group again. Like it makes life so much easier, makes world creating so much easier, especially if you want to do different versions of that same section. I would definitely recommend it. So yeah, I would give it a try, make a few blocks and do that. So remember, hold on, let me get out of. All right, cool. So definitely remember that when you do your exports, you select the origin block. So for example, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm going to take some water really quick. Okay, so basically I'm going to take the ground, let's say, I'm going to shift and select. I'm going to take this FBX. And basically I'm going to take this first item in. So boom, I import that into Horizon. Now let's say I want to take in the next quadrant. I will select the origin block again, select that next quadrant. Let's say it's this. And then I basically bring that into Horizon, and then I will basically snap this origin block into place. It's really easy. It makes things easy. Now, one warning though, and I don't know if it's still happening because I haven't done it in a minute. I've been doing models, like tons of models, but sorry, I'm just readjusting. So sometimes when you bring into Horizon, it automatically parents itself to this empty. It's like a box and it has a checkered line across the edges, and it makes the origin, not the origin block, but the bounding box get all like crooked and stuff like that. One thing is that you would have to, once you have it out and it's still selected, unparent it, select the origin block, select your item, and then snap into place. Well, group and then snap into place. Because yeah, number one, you're basically pairing another origin block so that that group stays together in case you need to change versions. And number two, that bounding box that it brings in and with that empty is just weird. So that's basically my workaround around that. I know somebody else had a question. So yeah, that's it for the
That was me.
okay.
So one of them was going to be that gray dotted box that sometimes can be a giant inconvenience, but you just talked about that. Now,
Yes.
sometimes when I import stuff into Horizon, it likes to bake the black shadow on it that you don't see inside of Blender.
Yes. So basically that's geometry, right? Sometimes geometry can really mess you up. For example, I'll take this surface here and I'm going to / to isolate it. Let's say, for example, you have an item that is triangulated in a very weird way. Like say I'm going to press tab and I'm going to press K for the knife tool just to mess this model up, right? Did I create an Ngon? Not quite, but you guys get the idea. So basically, sometimes you have geometry that is kind of pulled, you know, and it makes that weird shadowing. Let's see if I could do it.
Yeah, because I tried to make like a marshmallow and bring it in and it turned it completely black.
Interesting. So what you do sometimes to fix that is if your marshmallow has pretty decent geometry, you could press A. And if you press Control N, and not Control N, oh, I'm sorry, it's Alt N, and you do reset vectors. And another thing is set from faces, or yeah, set from faces it is, right? Because definitely Joseph Bransick taught me that one. I usually go to the reset vectors. Either that or you go to mesh and you go to normals and you get that same menu. but I do recommend getting really, really used to the hotkeys, because the hotkeys will streamline your building. I promise you, it will make you super fast. So definitely it is Alt N, and you get your normals drop down here. If you were, and basically you have to make sure all of your geometry is selected. So you make sure you press A for all, Alt N, reset vectors. And then that should help you fix your geometry. Definitely let me know if that worked out for you. Because 9 times out of 10, there's some geometry that is like super warped and stuff like that. For some reason, I can't recreate that. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Another thing is that if you have like dark spots or anything like that, Horizon's game engine basically uses vertex light. So basically the light in Horizon it derives from those vertices. So for example, if you have an item that does not have enough vertices, and if there's one vertice that's hiding under geometry, it's going to black that space out. You know, like say for example, I'm going to take this vertice, for example. I'm going to press G, X. Let's see how I'm going to emulate that. Let's see, I'm going to just mess this up really quick. Okay. So that vertice is hidden in the geometry, right?
Yep.
That's going to make that entire section dark. It's going to darken that whole thing up. And that's because the light in that vertice, thank you. Yeah, there is a hotkey guide. Josh just dropped it in the chat. Thank you so much. Definitely take a look at that and get used to some hotkeys, because they are a lifesaver, I promise you. Okay, so basically, yeah. So if you have vertices that are covered, it's totally going to black like everything out. Or sometimes what happens is, if you have geometry you didn't know that was kind of like split, and I'm trying to emulate that too. I'm going to do Control R, see if I can do, yeah. Okay, so for example, I'm going to just delete this face. Let's say the geometry like here, right? It kind of looks like it's all together. Well, it would look like that, you know? But the fact of the matter is you have vertices that are disconnected and overlapping, and that will mess you up as far as in terms of like the lighting situation, and it will cause dark spots on your geometry. So definitely make sure that your geometry is clean. One way to do that is if I were to press A, and then I would press M to merge by distance. And I can actually fix that by, there we are. I just merged the vertices that are overlapping, and it tells you right here on the bottom, right? And that can actually fix your problem as well. Because sometimes if you export from Horizon and then re-import from to Horizon, you don't realize that those primitives are like exploded into many pieces. So that would be your quick fix too, is to do the merge by distance. That's if you're using the geometry from Horizon. I recommend doing fresh geometry and using your Horizon models as templates for your builds. So
Okay, so I'll give that reset vectors a try and see what happens with that.
yes, definitely let me know how that works out. Alrighty. And we're almost at time. Does anybody else have any questions? And I definitely look forward to seeing you guys in the forums posting. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing some axes in there. Dave, you said something?
Yeah, I do have a question, and I know it's probably beyond the scope of the topic, but you may be able to at least point me in the right direction
Okay.
because it's related to importing things, but more along the texturing side because it may be more advanced than just importing, right?
Mhm.
So I think it was mentioned earlier where if you're using because let me just be clear right in the beginning, I'm not like a 3D graphics game designer expert, right? By no
Yes, you
means.
are.
You know, I'm a big fan of the asset library from our primitive build days and just dragging and dropping and making it work. So
Yeah.
a lot of the custom model import stuff is very new to me. Um, I have uh, been exploring things like the Unity store, Blender kit, etc. A lot of the model the places where pre-built models are out there, right? Prefab stuff that we can bring into Blender, no problem, and it looks great in Blender. But as someone else had mentioned, that may be split up into 15 different objects,
Mhm.
inside Blender, with each one of those with its own texture. So trying to figure out like how in the world, you know, like I don't even know where to begin because some of those things may not even have a texture associated with them. It's just a color,
Right.
that they picked in Blender. So there's
It's a
no
material.
texture file, and it's like, what do we do with that? And it's so frustrating.
Yes.
And uh, uh, I feel like I just want to pull my hair out a lot, maybe every day.
You're not the only one. I promise you. So a lot of these models that are external are not built for Horizon, because theoretically Horizon didn't really exist. This whole process did not exist, so we're at the dawn of something very, very new. So with that said, things have to happen before you bring those items in that are not textured, rather than basically materials put on them in Blender. So one thing to do is you could just replace those textures. You could use what is already used on other items. You can kind of like redo them with the UVs and stuff like that. Another thing is, if you really are married to those textures, like those colors, you could always bake those materials out. And I do have a really nice I have a really nice tutorial for that, on how to bake multiple materials on one texture. Give me one
Not
second so I
where.
can
Yeah,
find it.
please show me that because
Yeah,
I,
no, no, no.
I have tried to follow along with several different tutorials on how to do the baking process, and it's like I just can't make cookies. I
I
am not a
have
baker. I don't know what to do.
I'm not a baker. Actually, I would love some cookies right now, guys. Uh, you always speak to me with food. Okay, so hold on a second. Hold on. I'm gonna pull it up really quick for you so you can get that.
I see your comment in the chat. I tried to do that, and I'm getting all kinds of Python errors with that plugin. It's not working for me. I wish it did.
I have yet to experiment with that plugin. I can't wait to play around with it, to be honest with you. It's just this week I am too I'm too pulled all over the place at the moment, but I definitely want to sit down and see what it's all about. And if it's like super duper cool and useful, I'm definitely going to add it to my pipeline for sure. All right. So, yay, bring some cookies, Jillian. I'd love some. All right. So here it is. Basically the YouTube video is bake multiple materials, objects to one texture map. So definitely that's a good one. Um, and yeah, any other questions before I let you guys go to your awesome days? Let me know now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, and I guess I just need to watch that. That is one of the tutorials that I tried to follow along with, and my model
It's a good one.
just turned out solid black. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
It might be your UVs. So if you look up UVs for beginners, definitely do some experimentation with UVs because that might be what is going on, you know?
Okay.
Yeah,
Also-
for sure.
Also, that did eliminate the black shadow.
I'm happy. That makes me so happy.
I was getting
Good
so mad at
stuff.
that black shadow.
That's good. I'm
But
glad that fixed it.
I'm not like Dave. I don't have enough hair to rip out no more.
Oh, you know, mine is going away every day, man. It's already white. I can't afford to lose it.
Mine just went all to the
You know?
beard.
Alrighty, guys. But yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.